stranger, like the beginning of a fantasy.
Here's the question, my bad for the slow jams. Do you really think that the WBC, a Mexican-run boxing organization, is going to strip a Mexican fighter? Now, 5 days remain before the WBC said that Canelo, the WBC champion, would have to make a deal with Gennady Golovkin to fight for the WBC title of the world. Gennady Golovkin is the WBC mandatory. He's the #1 guy in line for the WBC title. And he's basically already stepped aside, in my opinion. Wait, he's already stepped aside twice for Daniel Geale, even though, okay, what happened with the Daniel Geale Miguel Cotto situation? Miguel Cotto was the WBC champion of the world before Canelo beat him. Miguel Cotto fought for the WBC championship in June of 2014. So he didn't defend it until June of 2015, a whole year pretty much of inactivity. So basically the WBC allowed for that Daniel Geale fight to be a voluntary. Now Miguel Cotto goes on to fight Saul Canelo Alvarez. Now in order to do that, to fight for the title, he would have to pay Golovkin some step aside money. Golovkin said, okay, all right, I'm gonna fight David Lemieux. You fight Canelo, just give me some step aside money. It's common in boxing for boxers to be paid step aside money. Miguel Cotto decides not to pay Golovkin his step aside money and goes on and fights Canelo and says, fuck that 160 pound belt. I'm going to weigh in at 153.5 to say, look, I'm not fighting in that 160 division anyway. Like so he's weighing in 2 straight fights under 154, under the 154 pound limit, a whole division below, doesn't pay the sanctioning fee. And it's already pretty much known that he's going to be moving back to 154 pounds. By the way, I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. So since the WBC allowed for Miguel Cotto to not be stripped and fight Canelo and still be champion all the way up until fight week, they said, okay, well, then you got 15 days if you win Miguel Cotto or Canelo to make a deal with Golovkin. So basically, they should have already been working on the deal for the Golovkin fight when they were working on the Cotto and Canelo fight, because that's who you have to fight if you're the WBC champion at 160 pounds. See, I was going to say 155. Now, what's being said is that the 155 pound division is what's known as Canelo weight. Canelo weight is 155. So anything you can be like, you could be 154.1, you know, and you fighting in the Canelo weight division. You know, they might start having catch weights at 154.5, you know, to see how far Canelo can go down. Canelo hasn't been at 154 since he fought Alfredo Geale at 155. That fight was supposed to be at 154 pounds. But what happened was they tried to trick us, because I was watching the weigh-in, covering the weigh-in, and we found out after that Canelo couldn't get that last pound off. So they paid Alfredo Geale some extra money, you know, to say that the fight, to basically raise the weight limit of, okay, well, this fight's going to be at 155 since Canelo can't make 154. So we already know from Canelo's, what was supposed to be Canelo's last fight at 154, he couldn't make the weight. The fight before that was against Floyd Mayweather, where he made that 152. For that money, you're going to make that 152. But when it came to the fights after that, he fought Landy Lara, James Kirkland at 155. So you got Canelo, who's coming in huge. He was humongous against Miguel Cotto. He was like 170 something. And the thing is, both fighters didn't step on the scales for the day. So we don't know what Canelo, but yo, he was huge. So for him to say that he can't fight at a full 160 pounds is ludicrous, because what he wants is, he wants Golovkin to come to Canelo weight. Golovkin put himself in the hole, because Golovkin has been saying, well, for the right fight, I would go to 154. But I completely agree with Golovkin's stance. Is like, I'm the mandatory. How you going to make it mandatory fight at a catchweight. What you gonna tell me? Oh, the fight's off? Like, no. Like, Canelo can't say to Golovkin, no, well, if you're not coming to 155, I can't fight. I'm not fighting you. They gonna strip his ass. Well, they're supposed to, and that's the question I'm asking. Will a Mexican organization strip Canelo? Now, the only way I see Golovkin fighting at 155 if they throw another, 500,000, to $1 million Golovkin's way. But in my opinion, it should be at the full 160 pounds. That's not saying Canelo's got to weigh in at 160. Look what Miguel Cotto's doing, for crying out loud. He hasn't fought one fight at the full 160 pound division, and he's already out of division. Daniel Geale was 157, and he came into the ring like 190. The Sergio Martinez fight was 159. They said, well, you've been off so long, let's see if we can squeeze that 1 pound out of you. And then the Canelo fight was at 155. So each of Miguel Cotto's fights, the weight went further down. I wouldn't have been surprised, like if Miguel Cotto would have won, I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have found some type of way to wiggle out of it, and then we would have seen Miguel Cotto versus Timothy Bradley at a catchweight of 154.5. I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. But it's looking like right now Canelo is in a situation where it's like you have no choice. You're just not going to fight him. But I'm interested to see what the WBC is going to do, because shout out to Russ, a friend of mine on Facebook. He's been harassing the WBC, and the WBC has said that it's up to the promoters. And I'm thinking, on their Twitter, they said it's up to the promoters. And I'm thinking, well, what does that mean? You said that a deal had to be made within 15 days. I can understand if they don't strip him in 15 days, but when the 15-day mark comes, which is about 5 days or so, they need to put out a statement saying, okay, Golovkin and Canelo's team are talking. Because Canelo's talking about fighting in May, and I'm thinking if Mayweather's not going to be around, which I believe he is, but if Mayweather's not going to be around, then it'd be perfect for him to fight in May, against a Golovkin, on pay-per-view. That would be perfect. But, we'll see. I believe Canelo will fight Golovkin, but I'm interested to see how long it takes them to get the deal done. And I'm interested to see what the catchweight is going to be. And like I said, I feel at this point in time, it shouldn't be no catchweight for a mandatory fighter. It shouldn't be. T-Street Controversy. This is T-Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Did I miss anything? Nah. Please subscribe.